Have you ever wanted to discover what's missing in your life? Metaphysics is available to all and is part of your life even if you don't know it. Welcome to Metaphysics, a view through the veil with Barb Crowley. Together we'll explore the mysteries behind metaphysics and how to use it to have a deeper understanding and advantage in life. And now here's your host, Barb Crowley.
Hi, this is Barb Crowley, and welcome to Metaphysics, a View Through the Veil. Today we're going to be exploring the realms of consciousness with Norma and Nisha Burton, mother and daughter team. Norma is a counselor with a degree in comparative religion, focusing on Buddhist and shamanic traditions. And Nisha is a dreamworker, award-winning filmmaker, and branding consultant for Fortune 100 companies. Now, that's a group of talent you're bringing together. Thanks so much for being on the show. I'm glad to have you here. And of course, consciousness is such a, it's coming up in quantum physics and physics. It's everywhere, but where is it? And I'm going to start with, how did you get here to this? Norma, I know you did. Did you just kind of imprint your daughter?
Probably, yes. It is a lineage thing. I was lucky to have a grandmother who was both a medical professional, but also a psychic person. And people came to her for healing of the body and with their dreams. And she was a real leader in the early days and had studied Edgar Cayce and so forth. And so she validated my dream time and my psychic abilities and also my spiritual inclinations. And so by the time I was going to college, I went for theology and psychology and knew that I wanted to study in those realms. And so in graduate school, I majored in psychology and then also the mystical studies in religions all over the world, which is the common thread really amongst all religions. So that really led me in the direction of the mind, psyche, and transpersonal psychology, the wonderful truth that we are not alone in the universe, that we are here interacting with multidimensional realities. And so Nisha, she has many psychic abilities herself, always from the time she was little, had very interesting dreams, and then was quite a natural lucid dreamer. But she also had me to encourage her and to help her validate her dream time from
Which
an
is
early.
great in our society, to have a mentor, to have somebody who supports you, to encourage you to open this up. That's a lucky thing.
Very lucky to, like my mom was just saying, have been raised in that upbringing and that lineage
In that
and
environment,
to be encouraged, because so many kids are discouraged from their dream time and from not ordinary states of consciousness. But through that encouragement, then I really was able to see the profound power and potential in the dream time and in bringing conscious awareness into it through lucid dreaming. And that really became a big practice of mine, and the pathways that it opened up in my own psyche, my own mind, as well as just the level of personal knowledge that it brings about is so profound. So got really passionate about teaching others how to lucid dream and navigate their psyches as well.
Yeah. So you've written a book, and then what is the name of your book? I want you to put it out.
We have 2 books, and our newest one is coming out now, and we actually have them right here so I can show them to you too.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
the first one we have is Lucid Dreaming, Lucid Living, which is an oracle deck and book that teaches how to lucid dream through pulling cards. And so it's a non-linear way to learn lucid dreaming and being intuitively guided to your message and your messages around lucid dreaming. And then the newest one that's coming out in July, in the beginning of July, is Navigating Liminal Realms. And this really builds off of a lot of what we've covered in the Oracle deck, but expands because it's about lucid dreaming as well as drumming journeys and the trance state can go into through drumming journeys, and how learning the terrain of your psyche can better prepare you then if you're going to do psychedelics or plant medicines to really know how to work with your mind in a conscious way.
Right. Um, Psychonavigation. I've never heard that word. I like that word. Now I'm going to steal that word because that's a fabulous word. And that is a big part of your book, but you have 3 steps in doing it. I want to, before we came on, I told Norma and Nisha that I had tried to do lucid dreaming years ago, a lot of years ago. And a number of people around me were able to do it. I never made a dent, not a dent. And they were saying it can be taught. So that's a
Yes.
good thing. Yeah. But
Yes.
you want to talk about, because you have 3 steps that
Yeah.
that are really fundamental.
Yeah, so psychonavigation, just for folks that haven't heard that term before, you can break it up into psyche and navigation. So learning how to navigate your psyche. And this is really something that humans throughout the ages have been taught, but in our current culture is vastly missing, is this training in how to work with one's own inner worlds and how to be guided through them in a conscious and clear way. And so the things that we talk about are a map is one of the key elements. And this is really, my mom can expand on this because this is something that she's developed out. But having a map of where you're going when you go into your psyche, and then a guide, a clear guide who can help you once you get into those dream time and underworld spaces of your deep mind.
Yeah.
And then a clear intent of why you're going into your psyche, why you're navigating into these realms. And you might want to expand on that too.
Mhm. And you're reaching to shamanic with some of this.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to have grown up on a Native American reservation where my
Hmm.
grandparents were adopted into the tribe. So it was just part of my life growing up. And I didn't realize how wonderful that was to be bicultural till I
Hmm.
got older. That really gave me the inspiration to want to study in South America and Mexico and Central America all through my 20s and 30s and 40s.
Hmm.
So I've trained by wonderful indigenous teachers in the shamanic lineages. And so that's where you hear that flavor coming in.
Yeah.
Um, the psycho-navigation was trained to the children in indigenous communities from the time they were little, right? Their dreams were valued, and then they were
Mhm.
taught that there are these inner maps that we can follow. And so that's what we're teaching in our Navigating Liminal Realms book, that all over the world, humans have known that there were these maps. And so we have to find, it's like discovering our own pathways in our psyche, but then there are these universal guidelines as to how to go step by step to find your way safely and to the deepest places where you need to go to be able to retrieve lost soul parts, right? To be able to find parts of you that were left behind through trauma, to heal your family lineage. So, yes, there's specific teachings that I bring forth from these indigenous lineages about where we need to go in our psyche, how to get there safely, how to have inner guide that you link up with so that you're guided safely. So
Hmm. And would my map be the same as your map, or would there be things that were the same, or
each
is it
person's
that different?
unique, right, in a way, but then there are general guidelines that every psyche follows. So I've done this work with people in Japan, South America, from all over the world. People seem to have the same geographical terrains that they go to in
Mm,
their so it's fascinating
that
to
is
really.
fascinating. Yeah. So
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
across cultures. It is the same
Yeah.
across cultures.
Yeah. And
This
in our
is the
book,
language we want.
Language,
exactly.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. We talk about how it's really fascinating too, because with drumming journeys, which my mom has led hundreds of people on and thousands of people really in a specific way of going in to the psyche through the drumming journeys in a specific pathway that people can take. and also lucid dreaming, like you're hearing, there are things that are particular to the individual, but then there are also these more general rules, so to speak, of the terrain that you're going into and the worlds that you're experiencing. And so it's really fascinating for myself too, as a lucid dreamer, to then read accounts or talk to other lucid dreamers and compare notes and be like, wow, you experienced that same phenomenon, or you experienced that similar landscape. I did too. And so to see the collective along with the individual experience.
Mm. I had an experience one time. Maybe this is lucid dreaming, and I thought I never went there. But I had an experience one time. I have a large family, a lot of siblings, and a lot of offspring from them, and all of that. So, when we all get together, we end up sharing beds, whatever, if we're all in one house. And I was sleeping with my niece, and I woke up and she was mumbling in her sleep. Somehow I realized we were having the same dream. We
Yes.
were in each other's dreams, and I was so amazed by that,
Isn't that amazing?
that we were sharing the dream. Is that
Yes.
lucid dreaming? No, lucid dreaming's more
Not quite
control,
lucid, but
right?
it is a wonderful step of dreaming. Nisha and I are often in the same dreams, and we'll wake up in the morning and realize, oh, I had the same elements in my dream, or we're in the same location doing the
Hmm.
same thing. So that's very fascinating, isn't it?
It
And
is
exciting
amazing.
when
And I said she
yeah.
woke up enough for me to say to her, we're having the same dream.
Yeah.
Of course, by morning she didn't remember any of it.
Right.
But it struck me as amazing. But
Yeah.
is is do you guys are you guys able to control that? And can I know this was not true of me, but can you see each other in your dream? Like, let's say if you're sharing the dream, can you see the other person there sharing it with you?
That's an excellent question because in the state of lucidity, which Nisha will talk about how to become lucid in the dream, and then when you're in the lucid state, you can recognize other people who are also in a lucid state that you meet up with there. But Nisha, tell about
Yeah.
how to get to the lucid state of
Yeah,
dream.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. So, like you were saying, there are different types of dreaming, and there's dreams that are very vivid. There are dreams that are very transformational, and moments where things like you were just talking about, where you can see somebody that you're dreaming next to and you realize you have your same dream. So, I'll define lucid dreaming though, because it is a very specific thing. A
hmm,
lucid dream is one in which you realize within the dream still beyond a doubt that you are dreaming. And so then it clicks on, it actually, on a physiological brain level, it clicks on a different level of cognition that normally
yeah,
isn't there when you're asleep. And so then once you realize that you're dreaming within the dream, it takes an entirely different quality and everything becomes very visceral and very real feeling. And you're able then to have some agency within the dream because you know that you're dreaming. And so you can say fly, or if you want to try and meet up with somebody in the dream,
hmm,
then you can really intentionally, and there's the intention piece again, decide to go find that person or to do various actions within the dream. So it really is amazing once you do get practiced at the skill of lucid dreaming, because then you can enter this whole other dreamscape and have an amazing time of exploring that world in a new way.
yeah,
And with lucid dreaming, like you were saying earlier, some people naturally are just inclined towards it and have spontaneous lucid dreams throughout their life. But there is a true practice and pathway to be able to lucid dream. And I say that anybody that really dedicates them to what are the waking time practices can become lucid at night. So the main things that you need to do in order to attain lucidity are to train your mind while you're awake to be questioning if you could be dreaming or not continuously. And that is then making that neural pathway that you ask. Because a lot of times when we're in
wow,
dreams, ridiculous things are happening, outlandish things are happening, but we don't question it at all. We're like, oh, of course, this is normal. And only when we wake up do we realize, wait a minute, that was definitely a dream. How did
Yeah,
I not
yeah.
realize that? So by training your mind in waking reality to be asking that question all the time, and then the next step of what you do is you perform what's called a state check or a reality check. And that's an action that you do in order to test if you're dreaming or not. Even if you think for sure, oh, of course I'm not dreaming, you still, while you're awake, do the state check. And one people know really well is looking at your hand and flipping it back and forth. And if you
Hmm.
do that and it stays the same, then you know, okay, I'm awake. I know that I'm not dreaming. But when you're in a dream, your hand will change. You might get an extra finger. It might turn into something entirely
Yeah.
different. And then because it's validating beyond a doubt, oh, I know I'm in a dream, then the lucidity can click on. And so that practice of throughout the day questioning, could I be dreaming, and performing the state checks regularly, then it will carry over into your dream time. You'll do that same thing you've been doing during the day, and then you'll
Hmm.
become
And you're setting up a habit that will become
exactly.
almost subconscious, almost
Exactly.
unconscious
Yeah,
habit to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly.
How about, what about, because I used to dream a lot and I don't dream anymore. I just, people say, yeah, do you do, you don't remember. Whichever way it went, they're not there anymore. And it seems to happen with age. So,
Mhm.
um, can you keep that alive? If I had practiced, could I have kept alive? Well, first of all, am I dreaming and I don't remember, or um, do you stop dreaming as you get older?
You are always dreaming. They've
That's
shown
what I
that
wondered about. Yeah.
studies. But we do not remember them at stages of our life. Sometimes it's about getting older. Sometimes it's about, our biochemistry. Sometimes it's astrologically what progressed state we're going through. But that being said, you can bring back your dreams. You can wake up the dream time. It's really like, I say, it's like beckoning a little animal out of the woods that's gotten shy and withdrawn. But if
Hmm.
you pay attention to it and feed it, it will come back out and make friends with you again. So it's like that with our dream time. So here are some things that you can do to remember your dreams. When you first wake up, don't move your head, because they say it's like our brain neurology system is like an etch-a-sketch. Remember
Oh,
etch-a-sketches where you
yeah.
and it erases everything. So if you shake your head or move it, it will erase the dream.
Oh,
And so
wow.
a lot of people jump right up or move when they wake up to turn off the
Sure.
alarm or something, and that will erase your connection with the dream time. So when you first wake up, try not to move. And the
Hmm.
dream, an inkling of it will still be there. And then another technique we talk about is catching the dragon by the tail. Like if there's just even one little piece of the dream that you remember, concentrate on it, think
Hmm.
about it. And that will start to make you remember the whole dragon or the whole dream. So value every tiny little piece of the dream that you can remember. And then the third thing is to write the dreams down. Whatever you can remember. If you start in having a dream journal again, and sometimes I put it right on my phone as soon as I wake up. I
Hmm.
just record it into my notes on my phone nowadays so that I immediately am writing it down. And then you'll be surprised how within a few nights, your dreams will really start picking up and you'll start remembering them again because you're paying attention to them. You're
Right.
telling your unconscious, I want to know, I want to remember.
Again, retraining,
Retraining.
going into the retraining. When I do remember dreams, when they are very, they're a different look. They're very bright colors. They're very specific.
Oh,
I always take them as visitations, not so much that I'm dreaming, that I'm being visited. You
well,
know.
there are all different kinds of dreams, and there are those
Mhm.
kind that you are really being visited.
Mhm.
Some
Hmm.
are vivid like that, and some will seem more ordinary about your daily life. And then there are some that are prophetic dreams,
Hmm.
right? That you are seeing something about the future. Many dreams are about healing our past, and our psyche is
Yeah.
working to heal our past traumas in our dreams. right? So there's all different purposes, but we know for sure through the science of it that we need our dreams and we need to remember them. We need the cleansing process that's going on through our dreams.
Mhm. Is there an age cutoff? I ask that because, as I get older, sleeping isn't as easy as it used to be. I could sleep anywhere, anytime, and now I'll go to bed and I'll wake up, at least once, maybe twice. So I don't think my sleep is very deep or very good anymore. And again, it's an age thing, so can you age out?
Well, I'm older too, and I have the same thing about waking
Well,
up a few times in the night,
oh,
but
you
there's
do? Good.
something that Celtic people called the second dreaming time.
Hmm.
And it's okay if you like wake up and then go back to sleep because the morning time, say from 5 a.m. till 8 a.m. or so, is the second dreaming time, they call it. And that's a good time to dream. And a lot of times when you go back to sleep during that time, then you remember your dreams better too. So
Oh,
just
good.
keep in mind that it doesn't matter if you can't remember them from earlier in the night, though you still are dreaming. But that second dream time often has a very vivid set of dreams that you remember.
Mm.
And in aging, I don't think that you have to lose your dreams as you get older. It's like we're saying, though, it's just a matter of focusing on them, wanting them to come back, giving your unconscious the message that you want to know them and remember them again.
Hmm.
So I really believe that you can get them back. Let us know if it works for you.
I will. It's like exercising a muscle, it seems like.
It is.
And
Exactly.
when
It
Yeah.
really,
I've let it atrophy.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
It
Yeah.
really
It's
is like
getting
that.
back in the practice of it. And, another part of the work that my mom does with people with the drumming journeys, and how that's really complementary to the dream work is that it's another tool to be able to bring you into a state that's very similar to the dream time, a non-ordinary state of consciousness. And then you can interact with the various materials that your psyche is producing in that way, which it's unique and it's its own kind of world, but it also relates to crossing over into the dream time to be able to access the symbology and the profound messages that exist in there.
Yeah, I meant to ask this before, but I didn't want to divert us. What about drumming works that way?
Right? It's amazing. Find the drumming section in the book as I talk about it. We have a whole section in the book about the science behind the drumming and what it does to the brainwave patterns.
So section starter.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, so it's an ancient technique, right? And different tribes, groups all over the planet have always used drumming to entrain the brain to a certain megahertz that then has your brainwave patterns settle into delta phase, which then takes you to alpha phase. And in other words, the drumming is a perfect tool for taking your brainwave patterns into a state similar to sleep, but it's a lucid dreaming state. So
Hmm.
Nisha and I in this book compare the drumming induced state to the lucid dreaming state. They're very similar in the brainwave patterns. And it's quite facile and easy though through drumming to get there. And I can train people even if they think, oh, I can't do that. I never have success. Well, just doing it 2 or 3 times with me and I can train you in it, then you are able to do it. And it amazes people. They're blown away by it because it's very real. You're not making it up.
Hmm.
This realm is coming to you and you're being introduced to these amazing experiences that are very real and very lucid. And so it's exciting because your brain is waking up to the powers that it has to go into these multidimensional realities. So the drumming, want to say something about it?
Yeah. Some
Yeah, I'm seeing your brain undrumming.
right. We have a
Yeah,
whole section about that. And
yeah.
the terms are the auditory driving function and entrainment. Like my mom was just talking about the drum beat, actually, then that steady beat
And it's
synchronizing.
rhythmic. It's a
Right.
certain rhythm. Yeah.
Exactly. And then that is putting your brain into the specific state to be able to access that dream time experience, that non-ordinary reality. And cultures all over the world have used this technology, right, in different ways in order to bring people into a trance state so that they can receive healing and wisdom from their psyches.
People don't realize that the drumming journey can be so intricate and advanced. Like when I say it to people, sometimes they, oh, I've done that. But they don't realize that it's just the tip of the iceberg. And there's so much to explore step by step. Like I say, there's a map that's unfolding. So I do the drumming journeys with people over years and years, and it unfolds into very advanced experiences in that lucid state through being guided by the drumming journeys. So we could give you, so many amazing examples of how people are. You meet a power animal, which is a very real relationship. It's like our modern culture has made it kind of a woo-woo thing, but it's ancient process of coming in contact with a being that is your guide, and you are intimately relating to it. You get to know it. It teaches you things about yourself, and you follow it into all different dimensions of experience, and it helps you to know that you're safe going there and takes you just where you need to go to discover what you need to about yourself and go to these inception points in your psyche of certain trauma wounds that need to be healed. So it's really exciting to do the advanced drumming work.
Do you have a different power animal per trauma
Great
kind?
question.
I know
It's
that
a
sounds
very good question. It
right, but
often
I
comes
don't mean
up,
it that way.
Lots of times people they know that they have a certain ones all the way from their childhood. In life, we may tend to have one main power animal, but then I teach a process called the journey to completion that I track it to my lineage with the Huichol and also Jungian psychology, depth psychology. So it's a year-long training program, and you're going into your psyche in a systematic way, time after time. With that, you have one power animal through the whole time that you get to know intimately, and that's your guide every time, the entire time. And then if like a year later, a few years later, you do another round of that journey to completion process, which is a deep shadow work integration where you're getting back your lost parts. You might get another power animal, and then you get to know that one intimately. So through the years, you build up a pantheon of your own intimate friends of the power animals. So you see what I'm saying? Like you could have one that's the same one through your whole life, but you also might get to know deeply another one and then another one. So that you're building up
As you
your,
grow.
uh-huh.
And they
Yeah.
have different qualities that, are reflected in the animal qualities that you're needing to integrate in yourself. So that's another reason why there may be different power animals at different moments. And really, something that's beautiful about it is it's connecting you to your inner guidance system, which also with lucid dreaming, that's a lot of what that work is about. And so that's a big thing we talk about in the book is that in our culture, so many people are so dependent on externalized guidance and externalized authority. And really, with this work, it's about turning back into oneself and reattuning, because it's true that a lot of us have gotten unattuned with our inner guidance. And so we make decisions that aren't for our best, and highest purposes. And so to reattune with that through working with your psyche, through navigating through your trauma wounds and your shadow patterns and your nightmares in the dream time, then you're able to really trust yourself again.
Yeah, because when people have trauma, they lose trust in themselves, right? That's what happens. And so then they start depending on, a religious figure or, an authority figure to tell them what to do. And they lose the ability to make their own decisions. I find that in my counseling work that people get afraid to make decisions, afraid to act on their own behalf for their well-being, and they become self-saboteurs. So the inner guidance system, like Nisha's saying, is so important in both the drumming work, shadow work, and the lucid dreaming. And people get so excited about being able to trust themselves again and see that they do have a deep intuitive connection. And another thing we talk about is you're not alone in your psyche. There's this I-thou relationship, and that's what we're talking about with the power animal. But it's really relating to higher consciousness, relating to a divine presence
What
that
did you
is
call
there.
that? An I vow?
Yeah, I-thou,
I
Thou,
vow. I'm
thou,
sorry. I didn't
meaning
understand.
like that
Yeah.
theological term of there's me
Yeah.
and a thou that is
Yeah. Yeah.
like a presence of divine intelligence or consciousness that is there. Um,
Are we also giving it away with the power animal where, you were saying, well, we go outside of ourselves,
the
are we,
power animal is within you,
yeah, yeah, but it's
Power-
still something else,
but it's the
like,
I-thou relationship that
yeah,
you have to
yeah.
have. You need that. You're
Hmm.
not giving it away because that's the inner relationship of you and the divine, you and spirit within you.
Yeah.
The giving it away would be to an external human, or you could give it away to, like an authoritarian type image of the divine that's always ordering you around and telling you what to do
Hmm.
and not having you come into your own inner self and inner guidance. There, a lot of religious structures, right, are set up around external authority.
Right.
And
Power.
that's when you can tell that it's like a cult, because they're
Hmm.
trying to get you away from your inner guidance
Right.
and have you depending on somebody else, an external force to tell you what to do because they want to control you.
Hmm.
So this whole method is very empowering.
Yeah. And with lucid dreaming too, something that we talk about often is that you find that I thou connection as well, because people think that when they're in a lucid dream, then they'll just have total control over everything. And that's
That's
why
what
I
I
always
thought. Yeah.
you have more agency is what I say, but you don't have
Mhm.
total control. There is this other force there, which I've called the co-authoring force. And what that is, and I'll give an example. One time I was having a lucid dream, and there's a practice you can do where you're changing things within the dream. And so I was changing the sky from night to day, and I did it, and I succeeded. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. I have control over the sky. That's amazing. But then without me intending to, it changed back into the daytime. And I was like, wait, what? I didn't do that. And then I decided to summon a friend over. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna bring this friend over. And they did, they came and I saw their
The
face. But
friend
then I looked
in your
away.
dream, right? In your dream.
Yes,
Yeah.
all this is in
Okay.
my dream,
Yeah.
exactly. And then I looked away and I looked back and it was a different person and I hadn't done that. And so I got this energy of that, you can look at it as your higher self, as divine consciousness,
Hmm.
as the universe, however you want to look at it, or your psyche. But there's another part of yourself, your subconscious, that you're working with in the lucid dream. And so you're not alone either in that, and you're not having total control. You are
In relationship,
recognizing and in relationship with that other awareness.
I've studied comparative religions, and in Pali it's called Paticca Samuppada. Paticca Samuppada means the interdependent co-arising of all phenomenon. The interdependent co-arising of all phenomenon. Nothing arises just on its own. We are all interbeing
Hmm.
with each other. So that's
But
beautiful truth.
so it's the I thou. It is part of you and part of the greater at the
Yes.
same. Yeah. But
Yeah.
is there any chance because I I'm a working psychic, so I look at people, and there are times there's outside entities that have attached to them or whatever. Almost always they're low level, they're chaotic, they just want chaos. They're really powerless, and this is the most power they can get, is really what's going on. But is there any chance that's who you're bringing in? Because I'm always I don't like to channel. I don't, things like this because I'm very particular about whose energy is here. And so, is there any chance that doing this work, you are pulling in one of these entities, that it's not a higher good, but a lower entity?
I'll say this first, what I always say to people, our best protection is doing our shadow work.
Wait,
Meaning,
explain that. Yeah.
we have our trauma wounds, like we've been hurt by somebody from our childhood. Say if somebody has sexual abuse,
Hmm.
they have somebody who's misused power against them.
Right.
When you grow up, then you can either copy that person and misuse the power too, or you are a victim type person and always have people misusing power against you. So anyway, a trauma wound makes like a hole in your psyche,
Hmm.
leak your energy out through that. So that trauma wound is what you've got to heal in the shadow work, because then that seals up. It's like from the inside out. It seals up those holes in your etheric egg, in your psyche, your aura. If you don't seal them up, then you're leaking out your energy, and that attracts vampire type entities.
Yeah.
So you don't want to attract people like that are going to zap you and sap your energy and take advantage of you, or
Mhm.
entities in other dimensions. But the only way to really truly protect yourself is to do your shadow healing work, to do your trauma healing work, so that on a deep level inside of you, right? And that's what you probably help people do. You're helping them seal up their leaky areas so that those entities don't come around, right? Because you can think of it like people are vampiric sometimes too,
Yeah.
as are beings in other dimensions. And so, yeah, a person has got to heal their own trauma wound. And then also, you get to heal your own misuse of power too, because a lot of times you can attract the wrong kind of people or entities who are misusing power
Hmm.
because you're in the habit of misusing your power that
Right.
way.
It's
So,
almost like that vibration got in
right,
there when you were a kid and it's
exactly. Yeah,
recognized
it's
and
recognized.
and
Yeah,
and yeah, mirrored. Yeah. Yeah.
right. That makes sense about doing the shadow work is your best protection.
And how do you do it? I mean, you do
How do I do the shadow
shamanic.
work?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, just basically when we talk about it in navigating the middle realms too,
I'm jumping away from your three. I know we went to the map and then
but this
sorry.
is the
Yeah.
Part of
map. The
it, yeah.
map takes you into doing your shadow work, and so I'll just talk about it briefly, although it's a big, intricate
Yeah, I
process.
know it's a big subject by itself.
Do a trauma timeline, which shows your traumas chronologically in your life so that we get a picture of the whole thing. And then we look at individual situations that happen and we study into what I call your outer shadow and your inner shadow. Your outer shadow are the people outside of you that have hurt you, oppressed you, and
Hmm.
your inner shadow is your response to them, your feelings and your behaviors in response. So, for example, if somebody was mean and dominating, as a child, you may have been afraid and run and hide and
Hmm.
cry. But as you got older, teenager, maybe you started yelling back and fighting back and then ran away. So there's four basic trauma responses: freezing, where you just are frozen and you can't do anything; fighting, where you fight back; fawning, where you're just saying, I'll do anything you want me to. Fight, freeze, fawn. What's
Run
the
away. Run away.
flight? The flight, yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the basic
Notice the
responses.
ones I know.
Yeah, yeah, you knew the flight.
Yeah.
Right? So we have these basic responses that we do to trauma. And so we're trying to track inside of ourselves, this pattern of how do I relate to when a person like that comes along, and my boss at work is being mean to me. Do I go into one of those patterns? So anyway, over time, we study that and we get you knowledgeable about this whole setup inside of yourself. And then we do this transmutation work, because energy cannot be destroyed. Really, it doesn't really work to cast out demons ultimately, because the
Mhm.
energy always is returning in some way. So we've got to transmute it.
Mhm.
So I teach you this method of how to accurately and fully transmute the energy so that you're getting the power out of that and bringing it to yourself so that you are re-empowered in a place where you were very disempowered from a young age. So you get that power back, and then you have to step it out in your life and do what I call practicing the change in perspective. So you've got to time after time after time meet these situations with the new energy, with your new power, and that establishes a whole new pattern in your life. So that's the basic pattern in a nutshell, of how I'm talking about doing the shadow work, right?
And that particular pathway is outlined in the book, as well as we're working now on a next book that's all about the journey to completion, really in depth. So yeah, there is this whole system in order to capture the
To do
shadow.
this, yeah.
Yeah, do
In
it.
in working with people, have you, um, brought them into that world thinking you're going to work on one trauma that they knew about and
Yeah,
found out that there were other traumas that they weren't even consciously aware of?
certainly, right? Isn't that the truth, right? Lots of times we've repressed so much just to survive and
Hmm.
live our lives. And then I think that's why people are a little afraid to go into the unconscious sometimes.
Right. Don't
That's
want to
why,
open up the can of worms kind of thing.
exactly, Pandora's
Yeah.
box, but
Hmm.
that's why I say we've got to create the safe container. And so the journey to completion map is a safe container, the alchemical vase, the safe way of doing this alchemical transformation has to be set up. Otherwise, people aren't safe. Like I find a lot of times nowadays, people like to bring up the shadow. Even therapists like to bring it up and find
Hmm.
it. They don't know what to do with it. And so
Right.
then it's frightening to people because they get vulnerable and then nothing adequate is done with them to help them heal it. So that's why I really wish for people to be able to learn the journey to completion because it's a very safe container, step by step, organic method of
Hmm.
going into the psyche so that the person will be safe to be able to approach, like you say, different things can come up that they didn't know about. And that's really
Hmm.
what we're looking for because we're going all the way to the inception of the wound so that we can heal it there. So, yes, things will come up, but they have to be done in a careful, slow way in a safe container. And
Hmm.
with somebody who's not going to try to overpower you, like I'm really concerned about a lot of psychedelic experiences people are having because sometimes the leaders of them are people who haven't done their shadow work and they're using their power to overpower other people's psyches.
Hmm.
So you have to be careful of that. You have to find a very good,
What do you
safe.
mean overpowering? Like a cult, you mean, or?
Well, like even psychedelic facilitators, though, if they haven't done their own shadow work, meaning then they aren't looking at their own misuse of power,
Hmm.
and they can be too suggestive or too naming of another person's process that isn't accurate for them,
Oh,
or
yeah.
pushing them over a line they should not be pushed over.
Hmm.
Like I really
Yeah.
believe that psyche or unconscious will bring up the right things in their own organic right timing.
Yeah.
But a lot of therapists can push a person too far too quickly.
Yeah, and that's one of the beauties of lucid dreaming too, and working with the dream time that we like to talk about is that really, rather than when you take a psychedelic or a plant medicine, you're going on that journey, on that particular
Hmm.
conscious journey. But when you're working in your inner worlds with your dream time, it's taking you at a pace that is natural to your own unfolding. And
Right.
so I really tell people that they can trust what's arising in their dream time and the pacing of their lucid dream journey because it's going at a pacing that's appropriate for their own growth and where they're at. And another part to circle back around to what you were talking about earlier is with encountering different energies in the dream time and different beings. Really, what you learn to do is cultivate this level of discernment in your inner worlds about what energies you do and do not engage with, just like in waking reality with humans,
Hmm.
right? Decide,
Yeah.
okay, I like this person, I want to talk to them. Oh, this person feels a little off. I'm not going to talk to them. And so, especially like sleep paralysis is a really common experience people
Hmm.
have where you're lying in bed and what's actually happening biologically is that our bodies always paralyze ourselves at night when we go to sleep so we don't enact our dreams physically as we're sleeping.
Right.
And most of the time, that comes off before you wake up. But sometimes it happens in the other order where your body is still paralyzed, but your mind, your conscious awareness is coming back online. And because of that, you can't move, you're in your bed, and oftentimes you'll see images too, and you'll see scary beings a lot of times because it is a frightening
In the
experience.
threshold area
Yeah,
there.
in that in between waking and dreaming state.
Mhm.
And so with lucid dreaming and that practice, you can learn then how to really utilize that particular scary experience to be able to practice having one, strong boundaries with any energies that you don't want to engage with in that liminal space. And
Mhm.
then also with discernment of sometimes those beings, although it might feel scary at first, are actually guides or energies that are wanting to help you, sometimes not. And so, what I tell people is first, when you're doing it, just practice having boundaries with everything and seeing that you can have really strong boundaries in that space. And
Yeah.
then, as you learn that discernment, then you can start to decide how you want to interact.
Mm. Out of body experience, people have had the experience of being out of body and turning and looking at their own bodies.
Yeah.
Nisha
And
has so many experiences like that. Yeah.
do you? So that's part
Mm.
of the dreaming, the
And it's, I talk to people about how lucid dreaming and out of body
lucid dreaming. It was like the word was escaping me.
right?
So
They're
that is part of
similar,
lucid dreaming.
but they're actually a little different too in how you experience them. And so within a lucid dream is where you become awake and aware within the dream material, right? You become
Hmm.
lucid in the dream material. Whereas often out of body experiences start more from the sleep paralysis state or a state like that, where your conscious awareness is coming online more in this reality or in a liminal space close to this reality. And so you can really utilize that experience of sleep paralysis when your body is not able to move, your waking body, to then pull what I call your dream body or your astral body
Hmm.
out of your sleeping body and then do things like you're talking about where you look back at your sleeping self or you
Yeah.
walk around your room that you're in, but you're in your dream body. And from there, you can go on to have amazing out of body experiences too, which feel different than lucid dreams. There's this
Tell her
similar.
about the time that you traveled to see your friend in Hawaii to test it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was having a lot of out of body experiences and I wanted to see one how far I could go and then also if it was similar to the reality of waking reality. And Robert Monroe, he's an author who wrote a lot about out of body experiences. And so I knew his works too. And I remember reading an experiment he did where he went somewhere else and did a
Hmm.
remote viewing, so to speak, where he saw materials that were in this other space from his
Right.
out of body experience. So I decided to do that where I was waking up in an out of body experience in my room and I pulled my dream body out of my sleeping body
Hmm.
and I decided to go out of my room. And I remembered that I had a friend that was in Hawaii. And so I thought, and I was in Oregon, and I thought, okay, can I make it all the way to Hawaii in my lucid dreaming body, in my out of body experience? And I started to picture the beach that I knew that he lived nearby. And I felt this like flying, tugging sensation, but it also felt like this wind was pushing back, like resistance. And so I had to focus really, really clearly on that exact beach and that exact place. And eventually I did get all the way over there in my out of body state. And then I pictured his room and I went all the way up to the room. And then I looked around in it and I said, okay, I'm going to study what everything is and where everything's placed, where all the objects are. So when I wake up, I can call him and see if those things were actually there. And so I did that. And then eventually I woke up from the out of body experience and I did call him and I asked, hey, was your surfboard over here? And was your poster over here? And they were. And so it was
Wow.
amazing to see
Yeah.
how we have access
So
to
you
that.
had validation that you were
Yeah,
truly there. Now,
exactly.
was he aware that you were there?
No, he
Or would
wasn't.
that take a training too,
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
think that's the other thing too. And people ask a lot oftentimes, well, can I meet up with somebody in a lucid dream or an out of
Mhm.
body experience? And I do think it's possible. I've read accounts where people do that. And it takes two people that are both very practiced in these
Yeah.
skills to be
Yeah.
able to achieve that kind of advanced level of meeting up in those states.
Yeah. I have done meditations. I don't know what you call them, really, travel, with people where, they're a psychic as well. And we have gone together into another place, into actually what we were doing. We were looking over in Russia at Vladimir Putin at, when he was jailing that the guy who was running against him. And we wanted to
Yeah.
see if the guy was still alive and was he okay? All those
Oh,
things.
yeah.
Now we could see each other.
Mhm.
We were, but I was awake. This was a psychic experience guided,
Yeah.
so I was
Mhm.
awake and we were doing it together. And
Mhm.
is it like that in the dream state? Is it like that?
I
It's
can
hard
relate to
for
what
me
you're
to,
saying because I do remote viewing and
yeah,
distance healing and things like that.
yeah.
And I think it's a little bit different to have the out of body experience because you're
That's
actually,
your dream body and we're,
dream body is
yeah.
actually literally going there. It's a little bit,
But I thought we did. That's what I wanted rather than remote viewing, staying back and reviewing. I actually wanted to be there.
yeah.
And I mean, at one point I said, I looked around and I didn't see my friend. I said, well,
Oh.
where are you? He said, I'm hiding in the light bulb. And when I tried to pull out, I had trouble and
Oh,
realized he was right.
really
You
there.
shouldn't
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
so visible.
Yes.
I actually I couldn't pull out, and then I had to go back in, fully go back in, and kind of gather myself, and then I was able to pull out. But there was a momentary panic of, oh my
Yes.
God.
You ever have that, Nisha? A momentary panic of not being able to pull out of those places?
I would say earlier on and kind of before even getting really into lucid dreaming, I think that is something that I've experienced and I know other dreamers experience too, where it's especially like say if you're in a fearful situation and you're
Hmm.
like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore, and then you're actually like trying, and you have a slight level of lucidity even sometimes where you're like, oh, actually I'm dreaming and I want to wake myself up, and
Hmm.
then that come actually. Um, a challenge because the more fear and heightened emotion you have sometimes can keep you immersed in the dream material even more rather than doing the opposite, which is what you want of waking up. And
Yeah.
so if struggling with that, I tell them that a good thing to do is counterintuitive, but actually to try to relax yourself and to close your eyes and withdraw yourself from the dream material or from the out of body experience gently rather than the trying to force yourself awake.
Hmm.
And reverse of that is if you want to stay in the lucid dream longer and it starts to fade away, which often happens, what you can do is engage yourself intensely with the dream material. So staring at a spot on the ground, really focused, will keep you in the dream, or engaging your body by spinning around in the dream, or heightening your emotions so that then you are more engaged with the dream material. So it's kind of like a gas pedal in a car, where if you
Yeah.
want to be further in it, you push into it. And if you
Mhm.
want to pull out, you actually withdraw yourself more gently.
Oh, yeah. Um,
Woo.
I know. I had an experience. I had a brother pass away from cancer, and in that time period, I live in Denver now, but I went back to New Jersey during that time period, and for a couple of nights in a row, I would dream. Where I'm saying I don't dream, but sometimes I do. I was dreaming. I was watching him, and this is honestly where I understood the word zombie. I
Mm.
watched him come down a hill. I was standing at the bottom of the hill. It was a dirt hill. There were other people around, and there was a river to our right. And he came down the hill and he walked past me and walked into the river. And there aren't earth words for this, so bear with me here a little bit. His, he was blank, but somewhere. Does
Mm.
that make sense to you? Like, but he wasn't there. but he
Yeah.
was there, but he wasn't with me. He never saw me,
Yes.
or anything around him. And he started to walk into the river, and I went with him behind him. And he was much taller than me. And he walked into the river, and I walked behind him. And I got to a point, and I said, I can't go with you. I can't go
Mm.
with you. And he continued on. And then all of a sudden he turned around and came back, walked right past me and right back up the hill.
Oh,
And I had this dream, a dream like this, um, I think for 2 or 3 nights in a row. The third night, when it happened, he came past me. He may have brought me with him. I'm not sure. I don't think he was ever really aware of me, but
mm.
I was always there. But then he went underground, and that in that moment is when I realized this is shamanic. Because before that, I was just totally afraid, what is going on?
Mm.
And then I realized it was shamanic. I
Yeah.
was watching him in that case, that third one, where he went underground. He was gathering his energy to get
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I realized this is shamanic, and I don't know a lot about it. I've had some shamanic journeys, but
Mhm.
thank God I've had enough
Yeah.
that's where it came to me. This is
Yes.
shamanic. And then I was okay. Then I could be calm. This is.
Mhm.
But did he come in and get me? I mean, what
I
was
think you
that?
were helping him. Yes. I think you were being taken to help him to navigate the passageway, to navigate the liminal states, to get to the other side. You were helping him, and
So I
he
was
knew.
aware then, because
Yes, you were
yeah,
aware. Like you say, he wasn't necessarily fully aware of you, but you
yeah.
were aware in that other dimension to be able to be there, see him and help him.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see the going into the underworld, right? That's what we do in the shamanic practice. We get used to going into the underworld while we're still in this consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
so that when we die, we can do it and not be afraid, because it's going into, as in Buddhism, they say the Bardo realms after we die, or the underworld realms. And
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about these pathways, these maps, because if you can learn the map before you die, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not so afraid after you die. But
Right.
I think the dream was about him, his psyche was coming to you for help, and you were helping him. And
So it was my choice because
yeah,
it was, did he come take me? Walking across
well,
that
you're close
river.
to him, right? So your
Yeah.
psyche is available to him,
Mm-hmm.
right, to be able to help him to make that transition.
Yeah.
Like in Buddhist practice, there's a prayer for somebody who's just died that reminds me of this. And you say it over and over. You say, "O nobly born one, go toward the light, go toward the light."
Mm-hmm.
So I think your psyche was there helping him to move along and keep going
Yeah.
where he go.
I had no knowledge of it, of what was going on. I had no idea, other than that river. I couldn't go with him. And I took it, even though the water was starting to get up to my neck, I took it as I can't
Go all the way
pass.
there.
Yeah, I can't
Right?
pass on. I can't die with you.
Go.
I can't go with you,
Way
you
with
know.
him.
But
Yeah.
it was the water coming too high.
That kind of going part way with him. You were
Hmm.
going part way to comfort him and help him, I think.
Yeah.
Think we
Yeah,
do
that
this.
was.
In other dimensions, we do help people.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah.
And a lot of times, with lucid dreaming and out of body experiences, especially, that will start to happen. And that's something like that maybe would happen spontaneously or that you can intend to have happen,
Hmm.
where you help assist people, spirits, through the passageway. And I had an experience where I was sleeping in a house that was an Airbnb. So it wasn't a house that I had lived or was living in.
Hmm.
But I noticed that night before I went to bed that there was a really strong kind of disturbed energy there. And I was
Yeah.
having a really hard time sleeping. And then towards the morning time, I became, I was in a sleep paralysis state where I woke up, but my body was still immobile. And I felt a really strong spirit energy. And it was a woman that was very upset and angry and kind of stuck in that house, in that space. And because I had been doing these practices rather than being afraid and trying to wake myself up, instead I stuck with the experience. And again, here I had the discernment of, okay, this being doesn't mean any harm to me, but it could use help. And so I decided to be with her. And at first, I had the vision, and it's very real in an out of body experience. You're actually seeing these things
Oh,
and
yeah.
experiencing
You're living it.
as
Yeah.
reality, right?
Yeah.
And so I saw her eyes and they had flames in them, and it was a very like distressed soul
Mhm.
feeling. And so I kept saying, similarly to what my mom just said, remember who you really are, remember who you really are. And after sticking with that for quite a while, then the flames started to turn into clouds, and I felt her energy shift. And then I invited her to come with me, and I left my sleeping body fully into my dream body and went up, 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 flying out of the house into the sky, into the cosmos, and then, left
Taking
her
her,
up there, yeah,
taking
with
her.
me, and then went back down into my sleeping body and then woke
Mhm.
up. And when I woke up, I felt the energy of the space completely shifted. So that's really something that we can do when we tap into these realms and these abilities, is then help others to move in that
Mhm.
liminal space.
Can anybody come into your space? Well, you're trained, so let's say not trained.
Right. Because when
Yeah,
Nisha was little, like she is like a sixth sense person, like a very open portal, and
right.
entities can see that, so they zoom in on her. So I remember one time we were walking past a cemetery, and she said, "Mom, run, get me out of here, because they're all coming." So the
Whoa.
spirits in the cemetery could see who she was and were zooming in on her. So some of us, see, I'm not as much that way as she is, although I'm somewhat that way, but not nearly as open of a
You
channel
have
as
more
she. Yeah.
boundaries or
Yeah.
more protections on you?
So, or my psyche just naturally isn't as open as hers, or as
Hmm.
available with the
Yeah.
sixth sense. And so she has had to learn how to protect herself very strongly from a young age. So at first, like she's saying, it was not going there, like don't go near the cemeteries, or don't go to the places that are uh, flooded with unhealed beings.
Hmm.
Um, but then as she's learned to protect yourself, and then, as you're saying, discern which ones need your help, then you're able to help uh, disincarnated beings to resolve their issues and transfer themselves, or help them transfer to heaven or to the other dimensions.
And it's very empowering too. I feel like people hear these things and, feel frightened. And what I encourage is with lucid dreaming and out of body experiences, really like before you might be having experiences where these energies are coming to you and you can't do anything about it and you feel very scared and disempowered.
Yeah, that's
However,
very scary. Yeah.
right? When you bring lucid awareness into those states and really learn how to work with it, you feel how powerful you are then in those realms, because you do have the awareness. Okay, I know that I'm dreaming, or I know that I'm in this liminal state. My physical body cannot be harmed. I know that I'm not in the waking reality. And so I know that then, hey, you, whatever energy is coming towards me, you can't hurt me. If I don't want to engage with you, then you can even picture, and it really does happen because you're in a dream state, shooting light out of your hands and creating a really strong boundary. And you see just how much you're able to do that. And those energies dispel then. And so
Mhm.
feeling that power and energy first, then you can have that discernment of letting certain ones in and helping certain ones, or saying, nope, I'm not engaging with you. And it makes, especially for people like myself that are more open, it makes you feel much safer because you know that you have power in those realms.
Right. You're not vulnerable, completely
Yeah.
vulnerable. Yeah.
I want to
And-
show you a card too. You go ahead and ask your question while I
oh,
look for the card, but
okay.
made these incredible cards that show these different concepts. So I'm going to find that one with the power
Mm-hmm.
hands.
And what
Well,
happens to the person who doesn't know to build the boundaries or to get trained even? You know, what
And
happens
they
to
should
that
come to
person?
us or somebody, or like you or somebody, to get
Mhm.
trained. Because if they have boundaries that are being invaded, they need help. I
Mhm.
always say, people call on an ally.
Mhm.
You know, if you're having trouble, don't stay alone.
Right.
Call on an ally for training and for help.
Mhm.
Don't stay
Mhm.
alone.
The other thing too is how much does past life, your past lives and experiences and memories from past life influence your lucid dreaming?
Yeah, I'd say that's a whole type of lucid dreaming experiences that you can have. And, as we're talking about, there's like these different distinctions between the different, one, just non-lucid dreams that you can have, as well as the different lucid dreams you can have. And some lucid dreams are working more with this life, this lifetime, and the material that you're dealing with in this lifetime. And then sometimes lucid dreams will work with different patterns or karma or whatever you're working with from other lives too. And what's amazing about lucid dreaming is, again, with this intent, you can also set the intention before you go to bed if that's something in waking reality that you're working with or that you're wanting to dive deeper into. Okay, when I fall asleep and then when I become lucid in my dream, I really want to explore what a particular past life was. And maybe you already know it and you want to go there, or maybe you want to see and find out and discover what the past life was. And so, with that lucid awareness, then you're able to go into that experience again, knowing and having this very real and visceral experience of being there and being empowered in that space. So, if something hard happened in a past life that you're still working through,
That's
then
a trauma, yeah, that you brought
exactly
over.
living
Yeah.
that the lucid dream and then working with it in waking reality with trauma healing too is a great a way to integrate the lessons of your past.
That's one of the things where I said you have three things. One of them was intent, and
Exactly.
intent is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, and we talk about Carlos Castaneda. There's this quote from his books that is intent is everything. And that really is true with so much of this work and with going into these liminal and non-ordinary states of consciousness is it's smart to have a clear intent and not to just go in a haphazard way, which
Mhm.
sometimes is what people are doing when they take psychedelics just like recreationally, and then they're going into a non-ordinary state of consciousness, not really knowing what they're doing there, and trauma, shadow patterns, etc., can all get stirred up then without any intent of what they're actually doing with that. And so having a really clear intent with your lucid dreaming, with the drumming journeys and shadow work, and if you use psychedelics, is really wise. And
Mhm.
and for lucid dreaming, it's really a driver of your progression in your lucid dreams. You might get to a certain plateau where it's like, okay, I can become lucid in my dreams, but I don't really know what to do next. And
Right.
now I'm kind of wandering around. And so having a clear idea of the next and next journeys you want to take is really
That's
important.
what's good about our book on lucid dreaming,
Yeah,
because
move it. There you go. Yeah. Oh,
gives
yeah.
you ideas about the next step and the next step. But I was looking for
Is
this
this your
card.
new book that you're talking
This is the
about?
first one.
Oh, the
This is,
first one.
It's already
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ready for
it
sale.
comes in the package with the cards,
hmm
There are the
And tell me
cards.
about the cards. Now I'm bringing you everywhere. I'm sorry to
Yeah,
do that,
No,
but
it's
no, that's
great.
great.
yeah.
Cards, you can draw cards and put them in different configurations, and you can hold up some of them, and
Yeah.
they're beautifully in color
Illustrated. Yeah.
too. And then there's a lucid dreaming teaching that you can get, and then a lucid living message about the message that applies to your life, just like a regular oracle deck. It gives you a
hmm
message where you're at.
So
But it
you
also,
can actually do you pull a card before you
yeah,
sleep?
Yeah,
yes,
And
exactly.
then that is your intent to
exactly.
kind
Exactly.
of follow that
Yeah.
card.
Yeah.
That's what
Yes.
your spirit wants, where your spirit wants you to go
Yeah.
tonight.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah, that's the
exactly.
Yeah.
message and lesson. And then you can also pull one when you wake up if you want to clarify a dream experience or a lucid dream that you just had. And we have different spreads in the book too of
Mhm.
different ways that you can work with your dream time using the deck.
Yeah.
You
how
know,
to use cards, all different spreads that you can have too.
right. And you know, a lot of people will listen to this and not be looking at it. We'll have it on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
So there is a visual that they can come look at. But you know, can you just say the name? I should have said the name of the book when you were holding it up so that those walking or whatever. Okay, lucid dreaming, lucid living. Okay,
Yes,
great.
that's the
Thanks.
name.
So, you know, anybody who wants to go
That's
and
the
get
name
that
of
book.
our website too, Lucid
Okay,
Dreaming,
good. Yeah,
lucidliving.com.
great.
It does a great Instagram on it and
YouTube channel, and they all
YouTube
have the
channel,
same name.
Lucid Dreaming,
Right.
Yeah.
Lucid Living.
So
Yeah.
that's your name, Lucid Dreaming, Lucid Living. Yeah, good.
And then
Yeah.
the most recent book that we've held up, that we've said it
The
out loud,
Navigating
is The
Liminal Realms.
Navigating
Yeah.
Liminal Realms. Yes.
Yeah.
And
That one
that,
I was more familiar with. That one is the one that I got, you know.
oh, good,
Good.
good.
Yeah.
And you can get them on Amazon, or on any book ordering site
Mhm.
or in bookstores. Navigating Liminal Realms, you can pre-order it, which will help boost our ratings on Amazon
Right.
if you pre-order it
And this is coming out in June of 2025 because you'll be
this
out
year.
there. Yeah. So yeah,
Less
that's
than a
good.
month. Yeah.
We have it
Yeah.
in our hand already, but it'll be out there in the bookstores very soon.
Great. Um, the I don't know, did we talk about the guide? That was one of the three, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the guide is a great piece to touch on too. And what we say in this book is the Navigating Liminal Realms is that this book itself is a great guide because
Mm-hmm.
it does have all of our teachings around how to navigate the liminal
How
realms,
to do it. Yeah.
specific map and pathway of the journey to completion. And then, like my mom was saying earlier, if you're really struggling or coming up against a trauma or shadow pattern, calling out for a human guide too is so important. And so my mom does work with people, as her practice
Mm-hmm.
of individual or groups of people that then she is in that guide role helping people to navigate these traumas and shadow patterns.
So we have online courses coming out this summer, and I've been teaching this all through the years, so people can look at my website, normaburton.com, and ask me for a session. So I work with counseling people from all over the world because on Zoom, I can meet with people
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can people, so I did a shamanic journey at one point that the person gave me a tape, well, not gave me, put on a tape of the drumming. So she didn't actually drum.
Oh,
You
yes.
know, up to that point, it was always somebody there,
Yeah,
drumming. But she
that's
didn't
okay. But
actually drum. She actually put on a tape.
I'm often telling people that they don't realize it, but the person doing the drumming is transmitting an energy,
Hmm.
So I drum. It's like I'm opening a portal for you.
Yeah.
And people have a very good success with doing it with me because I'm energetically so
Hmm.
present with it
And
and
you're
knowing
their
the
guide.
portal, right? And so I'm
Yeah.
able to help them through the liminal zone to get into the underworld. But then after they've done it with me for a while and are getting good at it, like maybe 5 or 6 times,
Hmm.
then I have them listen to a drumming tape of me doing it, and then they can do it, without me sitting
Being
down and
there.
doing it
Yeah.
with them. But they've gotten practice at knowing how to get theirs. Because a lot of times, if people just start out doing it with a recorded drumming, they go, "Oh, I didn't do it. That wasn't so interesting." And they lose interest in it because they aren't being powerfully helped to get through. And they also aren't being taught all the places that they can go in those realms. So they don't
Mm.
realize how vast the exploration can be.
Yeah, and one other thing about the guide that we talk about in the book too is finding a trustworthy guide. And really, that is about, again, reconnecting to your inner guidance system and understanding how to have that discernment of which guides are going to be trying to take power over you, right? Again, it's that like externalized authority figure and power versus a guide that's going to be helping you find the power within. And so within this book, we talk about for people to become trustworthy guides themselves, which a lot of people are interested in. And in Oregon here, psilocybin assisted therapy is legalized. But in order to become a trustworthy guide, you really need to do this work of your shadow work and understanding first how to navigate your own psyche.
So you
and
don't
inner
misuse
realm.
power.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And I've done both the psychedelic and the shamanic, but always with guides. Always, I've not,
It helps you to be
yeah,
safe.
not counting my brother.
Yeah, right. You were guiding him.
It was that it? I didn't.
Think so.
I was afraid for the first 2 nights. I was afraid until the third, and I recognized what it was. It was before that I didn't understand. So thank you for the explanation. Because it was like, what do you want me to do? And am I just a witness? I just didn't know. What it was, and it was frightening, frankly.
Well, it was very real. It sounds like very
It
real.
was very much
Yeah.
so. Yeah,
You were
very
really
much.
present to him somehow. You were really helping him somehow.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
That he didn't just come into my dream and take me, it was going to take me with him. know?
Well, he was reaching out. Part of him was somehow reaching out for help, and
Yeah.
you're an available psychic person, so he could see and knew that you were available
Mm-hmm.
in the other
Yeah.
dimensions to help him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the drumming, does that change? Like, does the pattern of it change when you, like the first time you work with somebody to the sixth time, you know?
The drumming, I do it the same way every time because then it's reliable for the psyche. So start out with a certain kind of rapid beat to get them through digging down in and through the tunnel. And then the beat slows down while they're in the underworld. And see, I'm tuning into it intuitively to know the timing of it. And then I pause, beat the drum 4 times, and that's their signal to not go any further into the experience. And then I beat it very rapidly so that they retrace their steps, don't just pop out of it, but you have to retrace your steps along that neural pathway and come back out the tunnel that you went in. And that all happens with the rapid drum beat. But as it progresses over time, it doesn't change because that familiar pattern of the drum is then what they can rely on to know that that's the familiar way to do it.
So they get to
Yeah.
know, you don't have to guide them as much. They know how
Right.
to do it. But you're
Right.
also an anchor.
Right. I'm an anchor in ordinary reality that they go from and return to. So that gives the psyche the confidence to do it.
Is that psychological or is that
Yes, it's very key
okay?
piece of it. It's also a
Yeah.
key teaching about psychonavigating that you need to leave from ordinary reality. So I was taught this, to choose a place in ordinary reality that you know very well in nature. And
Hmm.
that's your imaginary portal place that you go to and come back to. And you go through that into the earth. So it's very important to start in a place in ordinary reality. Whereas a lot of times people going into altered states just pop in and pop out somewhere else. So they're not grounding it. They don't know where they started and where they're coming back to. So it's
Hmm.
really important to ground it in a certain place in ordinary reality. That's your portal entry place.
Hmm.
So you can see there's a lot of teachings about this
A
that make
lot. This is huge. Yeah. Huge.
practical. Yeah.
And and I don't want to go too long, certainly with, you guys, and then also, the people who are listening, there's a fatigue factor at some point, I think, but maybe not. I don't
We're
know.
having such a good time talking about it all, aren't
I
we?
know, me too. That's why,
Good.
because I wanted to say polyphasic versus monophasic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did we talk? I don't know what that means, so I don't
Uh,
know if we've talked about
Sure.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that polyphasic versus monophasic
Thank you.
awareness.
Yeah.
And it's really, kind of a core of what we're talking about, where our culture is more of a monophasic culture, meaning that we put importance and really just anchor our awareness of what's real in one phase of consciousness, which is waking
Hmm.
reality. our culture is oriented to disregarding the dream time, disregarding altered states or non-ordinary consciousness, and just waking reality as the pinnacle of awareness. Whereas polyphasic cultures are more in tune with the different realms and different phases of consciousness that we're constantly going through. So the dream time, nap times, waking reality, an altered state, a non-ordinary state of consciousness, it's all much more integrated. And therefore, the person is much more integrated, right? Because they aren't making off these distinctions and sections within themselves of, okay, I had this dream, but I'm disregarding that because it's not real, it's not important. Okay, I went to my work, this is what's real, this is what matters. They're seeing, oh, in my dream, I actually got some insight into how I really feel about my work situation. And now I can see how that then carried into the next dream I had, where I worked through and unlocked this one thing, and it was actually precognitive because then the next day, that thing that was in
Right.
my dream happened in waking reality. And so we, in the book, go into detail about how even our Western culture was more oriented in a polyphasic sleep schedule not that long ago, before the Industrial Revolution, and work became like the most important thing. Where, as my mom was talking about earlier, in many like European and in the UK, in those Celtic realms, there was the second sleep where people, ordinary people even, would just wake up in the middle of the night and talk about their dreams and have some tea and visit with one another, and then go back to sleep and sleep that second phase and then wake up again. And so having that weaving between waking reality and the dream time made them much more interconnected. And also in many current like European cultures where it's really hot, they'll have the siesta, right? They'll have the
Yeah.
rest in the middle of the day, the nap time. And
They
that's
dream
another,
in that time.
yeah, and that's another example of being more integrated in the dream time and ordinary reality, waking reality. So that's the distinction of the two phases of consciousness and how a culture can be oriented one way or the other.
Yeah. Certainly the American culture has gone very far away from the roots, the core of who we are, in many ways. Yeah. Yeah.
It's reminding me of this movie I saw once about a man from India, where they're much more fluid in their polyphasic consciousness, right? And he was a physicist, and he got everything that he understood about physics in his dreams.
Oh,
And then
wow.
he
Yeah.
accepted at Cambridge in England, and he went there, and they wouldn't believe him, and they said, "Of course you didn't get it from your dreams. That's ridiculous," and they tried to screw him into a box, and he got physically sick because they were denying his dream time and separating him from all of the amazing knowledge and insights he got from the dream world. And so it was just a good movie of an example
Yeah.
between that honors the dream time and one that
And
doesn't.
and I'm thinking, why did they want to control it so badly?
Right,
And deny where he was getting it. I mean, weren't they
right,
happy he was getting it? I
right.
mean,
Yeah. And
yeah.
many scientists and even Albert Einstein
I was
credit
thinking
dream
that.
time
Yeah.
for getting their breakthroughs. And so
He
it
would
doesn't,
use it deliberately, wouldn't he? I have
Yeah,
to go
yeah,
take a nap.
exactly, right? Going in, taking a nap, if you're really
Yeah.
working on a problem in waking reality, the brain is actually wired to be solving things in the dream
Hmm.
time. So that's one purpose of dreaming,
right.
is to gain insight and
To
solve
we get
problems.
to go to the mystical realms, the realm of, I call it the realm of all potentiality. That's
Hmm.
where we go in the dream time, all potentiality. We can access and learn. And like some people talk about going to the Akashic records,
Yeah.
you can see all knowledge. So it's an amazing truth about who we are as humans, right?
Yeah.
Which is what
Hmm.
your show is all about, that
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are
The other
beings who
side of
go
us.
through the
Yeah.
veil, and we have
Yeah.
access to divine consciousness, expanded consciousness.
And you don't even have to do it in the way of waking up in the middle of the night or taking naps. You don't have to disrupt your dream time and the schedule that you already have in our reality, in our culture in the United States. But if you do become more aware of your dreams and really put an importance on remembering your dreams, writing them down, then that is gaining this monophasic awareness.
Polyphasic.
Polyphasic, yeah.
Polyphasic, yeah.
Polyphasic awareness, because then you are seeing the crossover between dreamtime and ordinary reality.
And you're starting to blend them, which
Yes,
will
exactly.
make you healthier, probably.
Exactly right.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to have to wrap this up because we could go on. I've still got a million questions. We could go on forever.
Well,
But
thanks for the great interview. Yes.
yeah, and I might ask you to come back and we just do
I love that.
shamanic or parts
Yeah.
of it. Yeah. But in the meantime, would you tell everybody where we can get hold of you, what you have coming up? And Nisha, do you teach the liminal as well, the lucid dreaming as well?
Yeah.
I almost said lurid dreaming, lucid dreaming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Website.
So like we said earlier, our website, Lucid Dreaming, lucidliving.com, is where you can find a lot of information. We have several really great classes that are getting ready to launch. We have one on working with your nightmares and scary sleep experiences, a lucid dreaming course, a more basic Dream 101 course that helps people first connect to their dream time and help interpret their dreams, understand the symbology contained within their dreams, and then also the work of my mom and the drumming journeys and finding
And the
your
shamanic, yeah.
Exactly. So all of that, we have a sign up right now on our website where you can get alerted for when the classes are live. So make sure to get that list. Also the links to our books and past podcasts. And then on the Instagram, I post shorter content that teaches about lucid dreaming in tidbits and nicely digestible chunks. And so lucid dreaming, lucid living is our handle on Instagram. And then YouTube have a few more long form videos that you can access information about all of these teachings as well. So those are the best places to find us.
Do you ever go out there and say, okay, everybody, tonight, let's have an intent of, and then put out something?
And as we're building a community right now too, as you can hear with these online courses. And so once you take an online course, you're joining the community where then there is engagement and conversation and these calls to action of let's try this. Let's see if we all
let's
try
go
to have
here.
the same
Yeah.
experience. And
Or
we're
have
going to
this
be
intent.
doing retreats, in-person retreats too, where we get to, in a really beautiful container together, all work with these practices. And really powerful things happen when we're all together in this space with the intention of lucid dreaming. So those also will be launching soon. And
now, when you do together, see, this is where I'll keep going. When you do it together, are you all in a group? Like I was talking about the projected remote, viewing. Are you all then dreaming together? In each other's dreams and all? Does it become one experience with all of you there?
How mixed it can become. And so that's all part of the teaching too, of teaching people to discern this was my material, but in this situation, I was blending over into this person. Yet we were having the same experience. And look at that, wow, see how we blended over here. So yes, it very much happens that our psyches start to meet up in the dream time. And so that's the whole part of teaching people how to do that, how to navigate in a safe way and not to be intruding upon people, but to be able to be co-creating together.
Interacting with each other on the other side. Yeah, in the dream, like me and my niece in that shared dream.
You're on a shared space, then you really do have these over experiences. And then another sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the other website for folks to know for my mom's work with the journey to completion is normaburton.com.
Yeah, I was just going to go there. Yeah, because you had mentioned it was under your own name, your shamanic work.
Yes. Yeah. So there's testimonials there, and there's ways to contact me to work with me in doing the shamanic work. The completion.com is another website that you can look at more in depth into the journey to completion. And we have, as Nisha was saying, classes that go on regularly. Like you can form a group in your area of friends that you know, and then contact me and I can lead that group on a journey to completion wonderful, training program where you do it with your friends so that you're going to these deep places like you're talking about, of learning how to dream together and go into the shamanic realms with your group, with your friends. And so it makes for such deep relationships, whoever you get to do it with,
Yeah.
lifelong relationships, because you share such amazing, deep places and
Well, it's
parts of
not like you can move away.
right? Right. They're
Um,
always there, right? In the dimension.
and do you do one-on-one with people as
And I do
well?
one-on-one counseling. That's all day long.
Yeah.
I'm doing one-on-one counseling. So I love to do that with people too, and I take people on the journey to completion in one-on-one counseling too.
Mhm. Okay, before we go, I have one more question. I swear it's my last. What about kids? And it seems like all kids go through these nightmares when they're young. And
Yes,
the witches and the goblins and the fears. What
they
is
do.
that about? It's
Yeah.
almost like a developmental thing.
It is. It is. And kids need to, like Nisha was able to be held by me who understood the dream time so she could come to trust her dreams. Like I remember when she was very little, like just about 2 years old, she had she woke up in the morning and she was pulling on the covers and said, "Where's the hole? Where's the hole?" And I
Wow.
said, "What hole, honey?" She said, "There was a hole here in the bed and I went down into the ground." And I'm like, whoa, she had a shamanic dream journey.
Right.
And I said, "Well,
Yeah.
what happened when you went down?" And rather than saying, "Oh, that's silly, that didn't
Yeah.
happen."
Yeah.
No, what happened? And she said, "Well, I saw a tiger there, and the
Mm.
tiger was my friend. And I rode on its back." And I said, "Oh, honey, that's fabulous. That was your power animal. And you
Yeah.
met up with your first power animal." So from the time she was really little, right, validating it. And
hmm
then always be telling me her dreams, every day when
But it
she'd wake
doesn't
up.
sound like there was fear there. Where the
Well,
kids I see, they're waking up from nightmares terrified. And
right.
the witches and the scary things under their bed, you know.
Well, I and Nisha, we all have scary dreams too, but when you can realize that it's your unconscious that's trying to heal you or help you know something, and then you can comfort the other, the parent can comfort the child and say, "Don't be afraid, you're okay." And you can speak back to those scary things and say, "Go away, leave me alone,"
hmm
so teach the child to set boundaries.
Yeah, and what's been really cool too is with our book being out now, we've had quite a few parents using the book with
Right.
their kids, teaching them the skills
Because
they're
that's
learning,
such a powerless
right?
feeling,
And
of,
showing them how
yeah,
they can be from a
in
young age, right?
control.
Teaching kids how to work with their dream time and training them in this way. We've had the parents come back and tell us, yeah, my kid was having these series of nightmares. And then we taught them about lucid dreaming. We taught them about how to work with their dream time through this deck. And now they've been able to shift that. Or, oh, yeah, we're doing the state checks every day when we're awake together. And then my kid told me that they were having a scary dream, but they became lucid and they were able to fly up away from the
hmm
scary.
Give them
And so it's
some
really
control.
empowering.
Yeah.
And kids are very, naturally talented in
Yeah.
those ways. And so just giving them a few of those tools, they can
hmm
really take off even quicker than adults many times in lucid
Right.
dreaming.
Do you ever think of writing a book for parents for their
I love that
kids?
idea.
I
Yeah,
think it's a
yeah.
Yeah.
great idea.
Because, I think
It's a
every
great
kid
idea.
goes through this.
Yeah,
It seems like.
every, yes,
Yeah, and it's horrible for the parents feel so powerless, not to
right?
mention their kid is just almost traumatized by it.
Yes,
And the parents are like, "Oh, it's okay," but it feels very powerless.
right? You
So
have to
yeah.
have tools to give them so that the
Right,
kid
right.
can gain the
So you have to
power.
write another book now.
I love that
Yeah.
idea. Thank you. Let's
Yeah.
get going on that other one
Yeah.
for children.
Yeah. So thanks so much for being on. I've
Oh,
loved our
thank you so much for
conversation. I
having us.
really enjoyed it. And thanks for the insights you've given me. I
It's been a
appreciate that.
great talk.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you for
Yeah.
the
you.
great questions.
Thanks. All right. Bye-bye.
Great to be with you. Bye-bye
Bye.
now.